Thanks,
Absolutely.
Emil. So I am going to remove Philip as a pin, and we are going to have our overview of the DARE scheme now. So I might share my screen just to send. Hang on one second.
There is a
Um,
question there in the chat, just somebody wondering where they can find the schedule of the talks for the day, in the Q&A section rather. So
yeah.
we have the link to that posted in the chat. We can also send it directly to you. No problem about that. And then also Cyril, they're wondering how they can message Philip. So yeah, we might message you directly, Cyril, and let you know how you can do that. But yeah, any questions, keep them coming as we move forward. Our first session of the day, as Cleva mentioned, is about the DARE scheme. So we're going to learn what the DARE scheme is, how to apply to it. And we're going to have a student as well, Alicia, wonderful Alicia, who's going to come in and talk us through her experience with the DARE scheme. Perfect. So
Cool.
how's the
I'll just
video
share my
looking?
screen
Yeah.
now. Can you see that, guys?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'll just play this now.
Hi there, my name is Dan McFarlane and I'm the Head of Access here in the Irish University Association. One of my primary responsibilities is the running of the Dare and Hear scheme, and I'm really happy to be able to reach you guys today via video at the Better Options event. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about applying to the DARE scheme, some of the criteria and what to expect, and then also signpost who you should be reaching out to, particularly for some help in your assessment and your application process, as I know it can be a lot for people to take on. So I'm going to dive straight into it and really just to make sure for everyone what the DARE scheme is. So again, if I can remind everyone, the DARE scheme stands for Disability Access Route to Education, and it's a third level alternative admission scheme for school leavers whose disabilities have had a negative impact on their second level education. So impact, that is a really, really important word within that. Again, DARE offers reduced points places to school leavers who, as a result of having a disability, have experienced additional educational challenges in second level education. So it is, again, really about that piece of not only just having a disability, but demonstrating the negative impact. And we'll unpack that a little bit now throughout this video. Again, even to just give a much more broad stroke aspirational piece around the DARE scheme, it's about making sure that every student has a fair chance to follow their dreams, and it's really making sure that all Leaving Cert students can access higher education, so that if you're a student who might have dyscalculia, that you can go on to do, let's say, coding within an IT or a computer science degree, or if you're even a student, let's say, with dyspraxia, that you can go on to be a camera operator and to study film studies as well. So the DARE scheme does have it for you, and it can hold almost like that passport to higher education. And what college or what kind of higher education institutes, you might be asking? These are all of the public institutions nationally that the DARE scheme provides a passport to all of the different undergraduate programs. So everything from ATU up in Donegal to UCC, MTU, even Cork, and then over there in Kerry. You can go up to where I'm from, which is in around Dublin, with all of these HEIs. And it's really important when we're talking about the DARE scheme for you to understand it's not just about your local college, but all colleges, all public colleges in Ireland participate. So when you are looking for support, this is where you're going to first find it, and that is the DARE representatives in these colleges. So students will say to me, should I apply though? I don't really know if this is applicable to me. And I go back and I say this whether you're a parent or a teacher or even an applicant, if your disabilities had a negative impact on your educational performance at school, people don't go around though thinking, oh, am I negatively impacted? Is my educational performance at risk? But again, if you can just think a little bit back, sometimes students might have to have a scribe or a reader. They might have their own exam assessment. Sometimes you might even be on a reduced timetable because of some disabilities that you might have. You also might even have an SNA. It really depends on some of the additional needs or disabilities that you might have. And then again, because of that, let's say reduced timetable, does that mean that you're not going to be able to meet the points requirements for your preferred course because of your disability? And the wider piece, again, that applies to everyone, whether you're applying to DARE or here within the traditional CAO system, are you under the age of 23 as the 1st of January 2026? And that, again, is what we would class as, not a mature student in Ireland. So there are some kind of questions that you might think about if you are thinking of applying. Likewise, if we can bring it down to some of the eligibilities, some of the disabilities within DARE for consideration, everything from ASD, ADHD, blind, vision impaired, deaf, hard of hearing. If you can go down there, you'll be able to see mental health condition, neurological condition, and then in more the kind of the broad terms, physical disability, significant ongoing illness, and even speech and language communication disorder. So again, what I really want to stress to people is if you do not feel your disability is captured in that list, do not panic. I would ask you to go and look at the DARE handbook, go on to Access College, the website, and go and check and see if you are represented within that. Ask your teacher, your guidance counsellor, and even the DARE participating HEI that might be close to you, or you can check their information on Access College to see if your disability is represented. 9 times out of 10, the disabilities are represented. It's just sometimes we have catch-all terms like mental health condition, physical disability, significant ongoing illness, things like that. So don't panic. You are more than likely represented within the conditions there. Again, the DARE scheme is really dependent on you first meeting the educational impact criteria. So again, how has your secondary school educational experience been because of your disability? And then again, providing evidence of your confirmed disability from the correct professional, and that equals your DARE eligibility. So again, if I can remind everyone, applicants must provide the required evidence of their disability and provide an educational impact from their school to be considered for DARE. And that's what's really important with this, is that your school actually knows an awful lot about the DARE scheme. They're going to be able to help you, and they're going to be able to point you in the right direction too, if and when you start beginning to fill in things like your educational impact, but even if you need support within the process. Again, students don't go around considering, oh, how am I educationally impacted? But here are some prompts that might help you kind of think about it, because it's really important to start thinking about these questions within the realms and definitions of the DARE scheme. So again, have you received any sort of interventions or supports? That's things like an SNA, a scribe, a reader, what we would call race accommodations. Also things like reduced timetables. With the reduced timetables, has your attendance been impacted? And that's not just being, saying, oh, I couldn't go to school that Tuesday in fifth year, but things like, were you signed out of school for a long period of time because you were sick, because you got to go to hospital, or were there, specific moments in your school calendar? Let's say maybe you had to go to a speech and language therapist every Wednesday or either every Tuesday. So that's really what we're talking about, regular disruption of your school day. Again, how has this impacted on your learning? It's the wider question of, let's say you were in hospital for the start of fifth year. Did you ever get a chance to catch up? Sometimes even with like reduced mobility students, they're not able to do their practical exams for the Leaving Cert, or even sometimes students, particularly deaf, hard of hearing, might have issues with like oral and oral exams as well. So it's important to start thinking about those things within the realm of applying to DARE. So again, it is really important to start considering them and to start asking the relevant people, whether that's your teacher, your guidance counselor, your parents, how might have impacted you. You don't often go around thinking about these things, but it's important to start thinking about them now. Again, students will say to me, okay, I know DARE is all about points. It's all about points. Tell me how many points. And again, I'm going to talk to you about an example and then also what determines those points. Because again, if I can remind everyone, they are almost like data trends rather than rules, because points are dependent on very different factors that I'll talk about now. So an example of reduced points on the DARE scheme is basically if the Leaving Cert points for a course are 366, a DARE eligible applicant could be offered a place with a lower point score of, let's say, 356. It's really important, though, for you to hear me when I say this, is that an applicant still needs to meet the entry and program requirements to be considered for DARE reduced points offer. That basically means, yes, DARE might be a passport for you to get to your higher education course of choice. But again, you still need to meet the entry requirements. So that's everything. Maybe you might need a foreign language, maybe you might need a specific grade in a course, or maybe you might need to be doing 2 or 3 specific courses, let's say the science courses, particularly if you're looking to apply, let's say, to medicine. So it's really important that you understand those contexts and also the confines of the DARE scheme. And then likewise, when people ask me year on year, but how many points and what is that determined by? It's determined by, one, the overall number of places on the course. So some college courses could have 60 places for undergraduate students. Some might also only have 25. So that's very important, and that will determine the amount of points that could be taken off. Again, it's also determined by the number of reserved DARE places on the course. Really, really important. And then also the number of DARE eligible applicants who are applying or competing for those reserved places. So again, it's really important for me to say this. The reduction in points for DARE places can vary every year because, again, these are data trends rather than specific rules. So people will also think the DARE scheme, it isn't really just about getting you to college, it's also about keeping you in college and keeping you not only aware of the supports that you should be availing of, but also keeping you happy, healthy, and enjoying your time in college too. So some of the benefits could be orientation programs, learning support, assistive tech, library, exam accommodations, educational supports, and then likewise academic tuition. It's really important for me to just remind everyone that you don't have to be eligible for DARE to get support in college. Most colleges, disability services will provide support to you irrespective of being DARE eligible or not. So it's really important too. If I continue on, how do you apply? Because it's really important to remind everyone, your DARE application exists within your CAO application. So you need to apply to the CAO by the 1st of February, 5 o'clock, 2026. What we then ask you to do is to review the DARE handbook with your parents or guardians or whoever takes care of you at home. You then need to complete section A, so that's the online supplementary information form, and apply to DARE by answering yes to question 1 by the 1st of March 2026. You should start gathering your documentation in a timely fashion, so do not leave it to the 15th of February to start collecting this documentation. I'm talking to you now. I would really encourage all of you guys to try collecting this information now rather than later. And again, I'm asking you all to submit your educational impact and evidence of disability to the CAO by the 10th of March 2026. For a lot of students these days, this could be the first time that you post something off. So please don't leave it until the 9th of March or even the 8th of March to send this in. If you have it, please send it in now. Again, I'm just going to spend some time talking about the different sections. And the first I'm going to talk about is section A. So it's a supplementary information form. So section A, again, it's the applicant information, and it needs to be completed by you online by 5 o'clock on the 1st of March 2026. You then answer yes to question 1 to apply to DARE and fully complete questions 1 to 5. Or you can answer yes to question 1B to apply if you are the person carrying forward your DARE eligibility from 25 to 26. Within section B then, that's your educational impact statement. That's really filled out by your school, and that does need to be signed and stamped and sent to the CAO by the 10th of March 2026. Section C, that's your evidence of disability, and again, that needs to be completed by the appropriate professional and sent to the CAO with your educational impact statement by the 10th of March. It's really important that when you do this, you make sure you're not sending in originals and you are sending in copies. Section D, that is the school statement, and that's really only applicable to applicants who are applying under dyslexia or dyscalculia, and then it's really for applicants who do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia. So you should submit section D, your school statement, again to the CAO by post 10th of March 2026. So again, if I could move on to section B, that's the educational impact statement. Again, you need to provide information on how your disability has impacted on your second level education. You can download the form from Access College. You complete the educational impact checklist with your school. Most schools are really, really good for this and they really understand what we're asking, so don't worry about that. And then your school will complete the rest. So don't be worrying. They're really, really good at doing it. Likewise, the form needs to be completed by your guidance counsellor, your learning support teacher, your year head, a visiting teacher, or your principal and deputy principal. And it does need to be signed and stamped by your teacher too. By your principal and deputy principal. And it needs to be sent to the CAO by the 10th of March 2026. Moving on, just to make sure if you evidence disability, again, we're looking for verification of your disability. And again, it's really important that you can provide an existing report or a complete Section C Evidence Disability Form 2026. To get that form completed, signed and stamped by the appropriate professional or accompanied by their business card or headed paper. Again, you will see this form on Access College. Please have a look at it. It's really, really helpful. Again, applicants with dyslexia or dyscalculia are asked to provide a full psychological assessment of any age completed by an appropriately qualified psychologist instead of providing a Section C evidence disability form. Where applying under dyslexia, significant literacy difficulties category, applicants do not have to have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia, and you should submit Section D, your school statement. Moving on then, for Section C, evidence of disability, your GP may be in a position to complete Section C evidence of disability, if they have the appropriate information on file from the consultant and specialist. And that's really, really important. Your GP can complete that, but only if they have the information on file from their consultant and specialist. And again, the age of the reports. It's important to note that applicants applying under the following disability categories must provide a report that is less than 3 years old. So your report has to be dated at the 1st of February 2023, and that's for applicants under ADD, ADHD, mental health condition, and significant ongoing illness. I'm going to continue on with the Section D information. So for psychological assessment for applicants with dyslexia or dyscalculia, you really must provide a full psychological assessment report of any age completed by a psychologist. When applying under dyslexia, though, applicants who do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia should submit Section D, again, that's your school statement, in support of their application. And applicants with dyslexia must have at least 2 literacy attainment scores at or below the 10th percentile. Likewise, for applicants with dyscalculia, they must have 1 numeracy attainment score at or below the 10th percentile too. If you're an applicant with those disabilities, you'll understand this. If you're not, don't worry about it. It's really important that you listen to the parts that apply to you. Likewise, continuing on with Section C, so the attainment scores can be from one or a combination of the following sources. So anything school-based attainment testing or scores from attainment tests carried out by a psychologist. Testing, though, must be carried out on or after the 1st of February, and all applicants must submit an EIS completed by their school. You must post your evidence disability documentation to the CAO by the 10th of March. Again, please, please, please don't send originals, only send copies. Again, with your school statement, if you're applying under the dyslexia category, but you do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia, then submit Section D school statement. Ensure, again, can I make sure with everyone, because it happens year on year, that it is signed and stamped by an SEN teacher and then countersigned by the principal and deputy principal. And you must post your Section D school statement to the CAO by the 10th of March. Again, we see it year on year, but it's really important this year to just share some helpful tips. This is the early days within the application cycle. So again, you have time to look at the HERE handbook, the DARE handbook, study it, understand it, ask questions, ask your parents, ask your guardians, ask your school teacher, even ask your local HEI, your DARE rep, about these questions if you have them. But you still need to apply before 5 o'clock on the 1st of February 2026 to the CAO. You then need to disclose your disability in your CAO application no later than 5 o'clock on the 1st of March 2026. Remember, you need to select yes to question 1 on the SIF form, and you have to make sure that you click save and submit. Students forget every year to do that, and it's really important that you do that within the specific time frame. Ensure that you speak to your teacher early about your educational impact statement. They are absolute pros at filling in this form now, but it's no good for you to say it to Miss or Sir the day before filling out, the day before the deadline. You have time now, go back on Monday and maybe begin the process. And again, any of the supporting documentation, you really do need to request that now. I would really suggest that you request it now, start to collect it. You shouldn't be worrying about these things when you're prepping for your mocks or even your orals or oral exams. Try get this done before Christmas. It's always better to have this information now rather than scrambling for it at the last moment. And again, when we say good quality copies, we're not asking for card paper, we're not asking for fancy postage, but what we are saying is that we need to read the documents. So they can't be a bit blurry. We need to legibly understand what's on the page. So do send good quality copies. Your school will be very good for helping you with photocopying if you do need it. So do make sure to avail of those supports. And then likewise, you send all supporting document to the CAO by the 10th of March. Please, please, please don't rock up to the post office on the 9th of March. Give yourself as much time as possible. And again, please keep proof of postage. We're not asking for registered post. We're not asking for first class post or express post. But what we are asking you to do is just keep proof of postage, which is a tiny little receipt that you can avail of. And it's really important to have to hand. Again, just to make sure it happens every year, common mistakes that applicants make. So for the Section C form, it's completed by a GP, but the required copy of the report by the appropriate professional was not provided. So your GP has filled in your Section C form, but we don't have any original evidence of the appropriate professional confirming diagnosis. That happens year on year. Please don't let it happen to you. A lot of the time as well, applicants might send in reports out of date or reports not confirming diagnosis of your condition by a consultant. Really important too. A lot of the time, the incorrect professional might be completing your Section C form, which isn't good. It should be from the correct professional time and again. And sometimes we also see test details missing. So the name of test, the date, or who conducted the tests. Again, this happens all the time, but applicants forgetting to complete question 1 on the supplementary information form by 5 o'clock on the 1st of March. These are really, really common mistakes, but we don't want them to be common. We wish they weren't there. So please do take note of it because we don't want it to affect you and your application. You can see here now, this says DARE and HERE timelines. So it's really important that if you are an applicant who's applying to DARE and HERE, that the timelines are the exact same at each access route. So again, if I could just remind you, 1st of February, you must apply to the CAO. 1st of March, DARE and HERE closing date online. 10th of March, you need to send your supporting documents. Then you won't hear anything from us until the end of June. So we'll tell you if you're eligible or ineligible. If you are ineligible, so that's not DARE eligible, you do have a chance to review and appeal that. So you might want to log an appeal and say, actually, the professional made an issue or an error with my application. But if you were eligible and you are DARE eligible, you won't hear from us then. And what will happen is within the offers process, so you won't get a DARE offer and a CAO offer. It's all one and the same, and that's during August. Then it will, like I said, the DARE scheme isn't just about getting you to college, it's keeping you to college. Within late August, early September each year, then the college orientation starts. So again, it's about that passport taking you to higher education. Again, I just want to make sure to everyone with the application outcomes, if you're an applicant, you'll receive an email notification about your DARE application once the Leaving Cert examinations end. So it's generally the last day, so the afternoon of the Leaving Cert, and it's always in late June. And it will prompt you to log into your CO application and to review your DARE application outcome. I just want to make sure for everyone that if you are applying to the DARE scheme and are considering the HERE scheme, you can apply to both if you feel you're eligible for both. I've said it a couple of times throughout this presentation, but it's really important for me to say it now. If you need help with your DARE application, you really can reach out to the local DARE representative. So again, you can reach out for a number of reasons. You might need to better understand the DARE criteria and how it applies to you. You might have general queries about DARE. You might be asking, how many places actually do you have for DARE students in this course. Sometimes, your mom or dad or whoever takes care of you at home might have specific questions that's really important to your application. And then again, sometimes applicants, maybe you might be blind or vision impaired, you actually need answers about what kind of supports are going to be available in college. So again, you can reach out to that. And then sometimes you might need clarity on the outcomes process. So, you know, what will it look like if you are eligible for DARE and maybe you have mobility issues? What's that going to look like for when you transition into higher education in their setting? So I really want to make sure for everyone, whether you're applying for DARE or applying for here, go to the Access College website and you'll be able to ask the colleges any question that you might need. It's generally DARE at, so let's say it could be DARE at NTU or DARE at UCC. Again, these people want to help you. They want to give you as much information as possible so that you know what to expect when the outcomes process begins. Just it's really important for me to remind everyone, DARE does not give you money. That is Susie, and Susie are the people that pay for you to go to college. So please, again, have that distinction in your mind. It's really important, but I do want to make sure to just make that distinction now. Again, if I could just remind you, thank you so much to everyone for listening to this talk. I know it's a lot of information coming at you, so you can almost treat it like Netflix or Amazon or even TikTok for that matter and pause this video wherever you might want to use it. I'm sure the Ahead crew will send it on to you afterwards. But it's really important that you use these routes for you and that you also answer questions that you might that you might have, and again engage with the correct DARE representative in a local HEI. So again, I'd ask you to go on to accesscollege.ie, use our handbooks, and I did put the DARE and Here logos here again to just remind everyone, if you are eligible for both, please consider applying to both. So again, my name is Dan McFarlane, and thank you very much for being with me here today. I hope you have a great rest of the day and enjoy the Better Options event.
Perfect. Huge thank you to Daniel. Just kind of full disclosure, Daniel isn't here with us today. He sent in that video ahead of time. I think it's actually his birthday, so we'll let him out of it. But we are trying to answer the questions as best as we can, keeping in mind that we don't work for the IUA. We're not actually part of the DARE scheme, but we do know a bit about it. So we'll try to answer all the questions we can. Otherwise, we can send you to our one-to-one session with Lorraine. She knows a lot about the DARE scheme as well. So that's another option, but we've tried to answer as best as we can. Also, the DARE website is really helpful and really packed with information. So we've dropped the link to that a few times if you have any kind of specific questions. But I'm also joined here by Alicia here today, who has gone through the DARE scheme herself. Just wondering about your kind of your background, and maybe you can introduce us to yourself, Alicia. Hi.
Hi, yeah, I'm Alicia. I'm currently the student representative for NCAD's SU for Equality. Um, I personally am both blind and autistic, so I used the DARE scheme myself to get into college, and applied for it all by myself, which was definitely something I wasn't used to doing beforehand. It was videos on YouTube and random bits of information off websites that got me through it all. Um, yeah.
There are people to support you, so there are people willing to answer questions. And
Yes, of course.
as Daniel mentioned, kind of reaching out to the university themselves and kind of finding the designated DARE officer within the area is kind of usually what's most helpful. But can you kind of talk us through your experience, Alicia? Like, when did you start your application? When did you move into college? Maybe what college did you go to? Those kinds of bits.
So originally I started my application as soon as like I was informed about it because I'm one of them people that have to get everything done and out of the way. Originally I didn't get into the college I chose off of points,
It's
due to
okay.
it
It
being
happens.
a portfolio course.
Okay.
So I went and did a PLC, and then I went into NCAD, which is the National College of Art and Design, which felt like an absolute mind changer as a blind person going to an art college.
Hmm.
It sounds like the start of a bad joke to some people. Um, so it was that kind of nervousness of being one of the only visibly disabled people in a college,
Mm.
because I'm a white cane user. Um, and then finding the supports that are there. There's a million supports there if you look for them. Like for example, NCAD, we have assistive technology, which I use on the daily.
Mm.
There's learning support. There's everything if you are there and you register with them as a disabled person.
Yeah, and I think we hear that a lot. The supports are there. It's just knowing where to find them, you know, because there's a lot of supports just kind of where how to navigate the system and kind of where to go. So are you glad you applied for the DARE scheme? Like did it
Oh,
help you in the end?
100%. I found even with my college, since I was a DARE student, I was contacted straight away by learning support to ask what my specific needs were and what I would like to do going forward.
Mm.
For me, it was a lot of just finding assistance for classes, finding someone to guide me the first day to know where I'm going. But then for other students who were disabled, it was easy as just saying, I just need teachers to know I need a minute sometimes, or I just need a minute myself, or I just need people to know I'll spell things wrong sometimes. And then they never used the learning supports that were there, but they just wanted to make
Mm.
people aware. But it's that option and that choice, which is great.
I think
Sorry,
Erica
Alicia, I think
just
I
just
lost you
Yeah,
for a
paused.
it's
sec,
okay.
but I'm back. I was just gonna ask, so would you recommend that others do the same thing as you? Like it sounds like you got a lot from the DARE scheme. Would you recommend it for others?
Oh, 100%. I would say if you are eligible under any of the criteria to 100% apply for it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always, if you don't try, you never know. So even if you don't think it maybe would benefit you to even just try it and see, because it's always something you can have.
True, yeah. And then it sounds like you had a really good time in college. Kind of what were your highlights of your college life? It might be hard to
Um,
sum up, but
very hard sum, but I'm a second year at the moment in interaction design, which is
cool.
basically website and app design. Um, So for me, the highlights were something really simple as being able to go to the college balls or being able to just go to class every day and actually be in an environment full of creative people who were all going towards like the one idea and the one goal.
Yeah, cool. And so what do you hope to do with that degree? It sounds interesting. Interaction design, did you say?
Yeah, interaction
Huh.
design. So we basically anything people interact with on the daily basis, we design. We're very similar to product design in that way, but we're
Okay.
more tech focused. So as a blind person, that was great for me because screen readers and all that make tech fully accessible to me. Um, so it's a great course. I find it's brilliant for like accessibility and things like that. But again, any course can really be made accessible if the things are put there for you.
Yeah. And how have you found kind of have the teachers been accommodating for your accessibility and that kind of stuff?
When I'm going to be fully honest, when they first met me, no, because
Mm.
I'm for a majority of people, I'm the first ever blind student I've taught, especially in an art college.
Yeah.
Um, so it does take some getting used to for people. Um, but once that first barrier is gone, they're all completely used to me to do it as second nature now.
Nice. Yeah, so they've kind of learned, and you'll probably help others in the future as well.
Of course, yeah.
Kind of generational thing. Perfect. So I think there's yeah, you're welcome to ask questions directly to Alicia or to ourselves. I don't think there's many coming through the Q&A at the moment. But you can also raise your hand if you'd rather ask a question that way and we can unmute you. But feel free to ask any questions. Yeah, maybe just a final wrap up, Alicia, of how you think your application went and why you'd recommend the DARE scheme for others.
My application was like really good. I had a assistant in my secondary school, in the form of SEN teacher who was helping me through my application.
Okay.
Um, from the bits I couldn't find myself. So for like the documentations I need for that, she was great at helping with the sorry, helping with like getting everything sorted, getting everything labeled the way it needs to be, especially as someone who can't see. it was great to have a sighted person there to sort
Mm.
everything out.
Yeah, that's probably good advice. So there's no shame in kind of asking for a bit of help from someone else.
Of course, I always say if you need the help, ask for it because there's no point in just sitting there by yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing your experience. Lots of thank yous coming in through the chat. We have Sophie, Alicia, and a few others saying thanks so much for sharing your experience. It's nice to kind of hear the technical side from Daniel, but then also get a real life perspective from
Of
you,
course,
Alicia.
yeah.
And I think there might be a question. I see Danielle has her hand up. So yes, Danielle.
Hi, yeah, we just had a question in here now asking, and you've kind of covered it already, Alicia, but anyway, what would be your top tip for people looking to apply for the DARE application?
Oh, my top tip would be start as early as possible because you don't realize how much forms from years ago you need to get because
Mm,
while my blindness was new when I was going into college, I only went blind at 17 and then went into college at 18. My autism diagnosis was from when I was like 6, so we had to go back through files and doctors to
mm,
try to get that official diagnosis again. And that things like that take time because people have to then get back to you, and specialists have to make time out of their day to get back to you on things like that. So start
mm,
as early as you can. If you're someone who doesn't find they're very organized, um, try get someone to help you because I found out myself I was losing documents and everything. So
yeah.
I found my mother was great at helping me because she's fully sighted to
Mm.
put everything in folders, put everything the way they were meant to be. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. So asking for that help and, sometimes it's not easy to ask for help, but I think it's worth it and things like this. And then starting early, I think Daniel had mentioned that as one of his top tips as well. Kind of everything can pile up to the last week and then it's a big rush. So starting as early as possible, I think is a great bit of advice. Yeah, maybe just keep the floor open for any other questions. But huge thank you once again, Alicia. We have people in the chat saying you're a great speaker.
oh,
It's
thank
really
you.
helpful to hear your experience and advice. So huge thank you to you, Alicia.
No problem. Thank you all so much for listening.
Of course. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. You're welcome to stick around with us, of course.